And we're live. Today's Thursday, April 2nd, and you're tuned into NEZ SEZ, a place where musicians can come together and inspire each other to play more guitar. Thank you all for being here. We're very special. We have a very special show tonight. I'm David Nesdahl, and as always, this is Ty Price.
Hey, Dave.
Hey.
It's always good to be with you on Thursday nights, and I'm really excited to introduce our guest tonight, familiar to many here in the chat, Mr. Larry Mitchell. Larry,
hi, Dave.
Hey, Larry. Larry is a Grammy Award-winning producer, engineer, and performer who has toured the world, playing guitar with well-known artists, including Tracy Chapman, Billy Squier, one of my personal favorites, and Rick Ocasek. As an artist, Larry has released 9 solo records and has been recognized for his virtuosity with dozens of awards and accolades. He has many long-standing endorsements and relationships with companies such as D'Addario, DiMarzio, Tech 21, Fractal Audio, Keeley Electronics, Godin Acoustic Guitars, and of course, Nags Guitars. I will say personally, Larry has been a huge influence on me as a player, and he's been a close personal friend of Dave's for decades. We're very happy that he's agreed to join us for a conversation tonight. Larry, welcome, and it's an honor to finally meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Cool. Thank you guys for having me on. I'm not able to play today. I tried to get everything happening. It was working for me, but it wasn't coming out to you. So.
Well, you know, it's unfortunate because we did hear the guitar, but we weren't able to hear the you speaking. So yeah. Another time we'll do the playing another time, I suppose.
Okay.
But yeah, it's great to see you here.
Yeah. How are you guys dealing with the quarantine? Everybody all right?
Staying inside.
Okay.
Staying inside, trying to stay safe and as healthy as possible.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, how about you?
No cabin fever? I know most artists are like, yeah, this is great. I get to practice. I know for me, I watched a couple of Andy Wood YouTube lessons, and I watched Andy Timmons do a show on Stage It and learn some licks from Andy. And I've been taking the time to learn how to play a couple of songs I wanted to learn how to play. You know, besides working, I'm still working a little bit. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's certainly different adjusting to this new norm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. I think it's well, I just lost you guys. No.
You did?
I was trying to figure out how to see the chat.
Oh, you have to go into YouTube and do it that way.
Okay.
But keep the audio off so that it's not delayed for you.
Yeah. No worries. Mm-hmm.
So, Ty, you want to say hello to everyone in the chat real quick?
Yeah, we've got quite a few folks in the chat. Michael James is here. Mr. BHB Jr. is here. Our friend Rob is here. Dry Heat 480. The Chad. Joe Hervey. Brandon B. Squared. 7/8. Jay, good to see you. Let's see. Frank Corcoran's here. Frank, good to see you. William Errol DeBose, U.S. Air Force retired. Thank you for your service, sir, and thank you for being here. Fruitcake Tony is here. Matthew Stewart, Rosie McPherson, Han 36 Solo, cool name.
Yes.
Trip Machine, Thomas Sandiaco, Kevin Corcoral is here. Johnny Bean is here. Hey, JB. Headstock Harem is here. Bent Rossum, Johnny Windsor, Hugh Caldwell. Yeah, quite a few. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Johnny, I was watching Johnny earlier today. He was on Facebook.
Very cool. With Rob, right?
Really early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
That's cool.
So why don't we get into this? Ty started off. I know you have a lot of questions for Larry.
Well, I mean, where do you start? I mean, Larry, you've had a long career as an artist. You've released a lot of records. You're very comfortable, being your own artist. You're very comfortable playing in an ensemble. What first drew you to the guitar? I mean, was the guitar your first instrument? Did you start somewhere else? I mean, how did this career come to be?
Well, I started playing guitar at 9, and I wanted to play drums, but my mom threw my drum set out the window.
Too loud, right?
And she wanted to watch TV, and I was inhibiting that, so didn't work. And I just played guitar. It quickly became something I did all the time. I took it with me everywhere. I took it to school a lot in high school, and I think I only took a music class the first year or the second year. But even when I didn't have music classes, I took the guitar with me a lot. So,
are you self-taught, Larry?
I am self-taught.
Yep.
Self-taught. Yep. Community taught, I should say.
Right.
Hung out with lots of guitar players. I used to go to his house all the time. I was always around a group of 10 guitar players, and throughout the times it would just shift to different guitar players. But you guys should have my friend John Levin on the show.
I'd love to have John Levin on the show.
Yeah, John was 16. I think I was 17 or 18, and we used to hang out a lot with my friend Pete Merzen and Jeff Berkowitz and quite a few guitar players in the Five Towns area. But I spent a lot of time at John's house, just hanging out and watching him rip off like Yngwie licks to Van Halen to George Lynch licks, and now he's in Dokken, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, Larry, who was your? I mean, you have such a unique voice in your playing. I mean, from that very first record where you're holding the double neck guitar, and then
it's 30 years.
30 years. So
that record's 30 years old this month.
So you're developing this unique voice, and what's interesting, I think, about your catalog that I'd like to get into later is how much evolution takes place from one record to the next. A lot of versatility, stylistically, and you can hear an array of influences in your playing while still maintaining a unique character
Okay, cool.
to your player. But who was that first early influence where you said, I want to do that, I want to play like that, I want to sound like that? I mean, who was that first motivating player for you?
The first what consciously made a decision was my friends used to collect those sound pages in Guitar Player magazine.
Yeah.
And it was Steve Vai.
Yeah.
And there might have been a Satriani one by then. No, maybe not. Steve Stevens was the local guitar hero. So that was probably the first big person that was like, oh, you gotta go for like this, what Steve was doing. The one person that really drove me over the edge was Eric Johnson. The Who is Eric Johnson? Why is he on our cover, Guitar Player magazine, and with Cliffs of Dover on the sound page.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading the article thinking, wow, this guy's a little out there. That's the famous interview where he's talking about the Eveready batteries versus Duracell batteries and brass in plugs going into a pedal, and you need silver nickel plugs coming out. And I remember not listening to reading it and hadn't listened to the sound page. And my friend Ira picked me up one day. We were driving, and we used to put those sound pages, all of them, on a cassette, so you could listen to them over and over and over. And Steve Stevens' guitar, according to Guitar World, was on there as well, which was it's go from rock guitar to flamenco. And I remember Cliffs of Dover came on, and I'm like, Ira, stop the car. He was like, what? I was like, stop the car. And he's like, it's like, what's wrong? I said, who is this? And he goes, you almost killed us. I said, who is this? He goes, it's that country guy, Eric Johnson. Because I thought he was a country player. I had no idea. I read the article, and from the article, somehow I just thought he was a country player. Nothing against country players. Country players are ridiculously amazing. but I was not prepared for Cliffs of Dover. And I remember going, that's it. That's the sound I hear in my head. That was absolutely the sound I hear in my head. So that was the first major like conscious decision. Before that, I had been exposed to Eddie Van Halen. I thought it was really great. And Rush, Andy Summers for the Police. I used to love what he was doing. And like I said, Steve Stevens was the local guitar hero. So I didn't know Steve then. But I knew of Steve for sure. And through my friend Jeff Dahl, who was a great guitar player. Jeff was probably a bigger influence for me overall because I had access to Jeff. You know, you think about who is an influence and you listen to certain people's records, you watch interviews, you watch videos, you go see him play. But I learned songs from Dave. You know what I mean? When Dave will tell you, when I got the Tracy Chapman gig, I was like, Dave, man, could you come over? I got like 30 songs to learn because Dave can figure songs out crazy fast. You know, the bigger influences are probably people that you hang out and spend the most time with.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, where I can go, hey, I hung out with John Levin. I was like, wow, that's how you play that Van Halen song? I didn't know. You know, John knew all those Van Halen licks. It's like, just people and Jeff Dahl. I remember walking into Jeff Dahl's house and he had two Marshall half stacks and a Roland Chorus Echo in stereo or Space Echo, one of the Space Echo chord, the big box.
Yeah, sure.
And that delay sound was like, whoa. And that's what really pushed me into delay. And anytime I heard somebody using delay, which went back to Steve Stevens, which I'm not sure. I think Jeff got a lot of, because he took lessons from Steve. So I think he got a lot of that from Steve Stevens. But then I got into the Edge and I got into David Gilmour a bit. Anybody that was doing interesting, different things with delays. Hendrix was doing, reverse tape delay kind of things. So, but yeah, so those are that Eric Johnson's probably the biggest conscious, life-changing moment influence. Before that, it was probably Van Halen and Nile Rodgers. Of course, I was into Nile Rodgers back in high school. And then Andy Summers and Alex Lifeson. And then a lot of people I used to just hang out with. Like I said, there was always 10 guitar players. It always ended up being about 10 guitar players that I would hang out with. And then, in different circles. So one circle, I was the rock guy. And the other circle, I was the funk guy, And
you wound up working with Nile Rodgers at one point, right?
Nile produced that Rick Ocasek record. And it was great. Absolutely great to work with Nile. It was great to work with Rick, too. But it was like, wow, this is pretty much a dream, like to be in a room hanging out with Nile.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Did you get to play the guitar, the famous guitar, the famous Strat?
No. I don't know if I should tell this, but I had gotten received from Ibanez, I was an Ibanez artist at the time, a translucent purple American series. It had the neck with the flat, what is that called, with the flat truss rod in it.
Oh yes. Oh,
I forgot what it's called. But I had one of those, and it was a beautiful guitar, and I used that on Rick's record. And Niall liked that guitar. He's like, man, this is great. He played for a while. I said, Niall, he goes, man, I got to get one. He said, you're Nile Rodgers. They'll give you one.
PVC neck.
And
they had a PVC neck on it.
PVC neck. So, I called Chris Kelly, was the artist relations guy at the time at Ibanez. I go, hey, Chris, I just did this session with Nile Rodgers, and he really liked my guitar. You want to talk to him? He goes, yeah, I'll talk to him. So they talked. And then like a week later, I get a message from Chris. He goes, hey, man, can we borrow that guitar back from you? And we'll get it right back to you. I'm like, what? Sure. So they picked up they sent the call tag. They sent the guitar to them. And then like weeks go by, I hear nothing back. I go to see Niall, and he's got my guitar. He goes, yeah, man, they sent me one exactly like yours. I'm like, I think that's my guitar. I didn't pay attention to the serial numbers, but
so funny.
So I never got the replacement. They gave Niall my guitar.
Oh,
they could have just said, Chris could have just said, just hand them your guitar and we'll send you one. But no, I sent it back to Pennsylvania, to Ben Salem, Pennsylvania, and they sent it back to New York to give to Niall. Yeah.
Wow.
Low man on the totem pole.
I never heard that story before. That's funny.
That's
Because
great.
I had the guitar for maybe 2 or 3 months. That was it.
Wow.
You know where I had two others. I had another one that I used in that Billy Squire tour with the hip shot detuner.
Yeah, yes.
And then I have the Passion 1, which is another one that has that neck.
Well, yeah, I thought the purple one was No, was that blue with the arch top?
Yeah, that the only archtop RG. That was it was a weird purple, blue, light blue thing that Jim Donahue did, and it changed colors.
Yeah.
This was the one that Niall got was just a straight up translucent purple, transparent purple.
I don't think I've ever seen that guitar. I think
I didn't own it long enough.
So funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
Chris Kelly, if you run into Chris Kelly, it's his fault. It's fault.
That's too funny.
Mm-hmm.
That's too funny. So let's say hello to a couple more people in the chat. Liquid Charlie's here. Hey, Lynn.
Hi, Lynn.
Frank Corcoran is here. Hugh Caldwell is here. Gabriel Tone Guitars is here. Bent Rossum is here. If we've said your name before, so we'll say it again. Ben Coombs is here. Ben says, "Hey, Dave, Ty, and Larry."
Hey, Ben.
Hey, Ben.
If anybody, Peter K is here. Hey, Pete. Peter Cooper Schmidt.
Hi, Peter.
Big Fly Music is here. Kevin Coachella is here. Brendan B. Squared is here. Jeff Cornell is here. Hello. Trip Machine is here. Nice to see you. Rosie McPherson is here. I'm going back a little bit. Mike as himself is here.
Hi, Rosie.
Dry Heat 480. David Ennis. If I didn't say your name, say hi to me and I'll say hello back. So right now we have 43 people in here and enjoying this with us. And so again, Larry, it's really great to have you on here. And I know that you've been on with me plenty of times, and every time it's just a great time. It's a lot of fun. So I appreciate this.
Sure. Thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So Bill Richards is here. So all right. So let's start with the first record. It was 30 years ago.
Yes.
Let's get into the recording process of that record.
Oh.
What do you remember about that recording session?
The good or the bad?
Both. Whatever you want to talk about.
All right, let's keep it positive. The good was that Dave Whitman produced it and engineered it. Dave Whitman engineered the Kiss 4-track that they got a record deal on, and he also engineered and mixed the first 3 or the first 4 Kiss records. He mixed Eric Clapton's Journeyman. He mixed Rebel Yell. I should know his discography. His discography is like amazing, and it's a guitar player's discography. It's amazing. So Dave was really easy to work with. We unfortunately changed bass players right before we went into the studio, and because we had built up, Yves Girard played drums on that record, and we had built up this cool thing by playing around the city for a while, and we knew those songs inside out. It was going to be a breeze. We didn't have the biggest budget to do the record, and then we changed bass players, and so we had to change a lot of stuff going into recording, and we only had X amount of time to record the basic tracks and then for me to overdub. Well, I didn't have any of my time to do. Actually, I had just a day or 2 days extra to do overdubs, and that was due to Vernon Reid and Live in Color, because we tracked a record at RPM Studios in Manhattan, and we had to be out by a certain amount of time, certain day, because Living Color was coming in to do their second record, I believe. And also that was our budget because we were going to go to Unique and mix. So we did the basics but we spent the overdub days, instead of me tracking guitar, we had to punch bass. And it's like, wow, I'm not gonna have time to do any overdubs. I had just the solos I did on the record. And I think there's 2 or 3 solos that I did in the basic tracks that made it, that kept on, that stayed on as the solo for the record. But Living Colors, all the gear was out in the lobby of the studio, about where the lounges and stuff. And Vernon actually came by. Vernon was there when I did the solo for the song Lies, and he hung out, and he goes like, "Oh no, we're not ready to come to the studio. You guys hang out." And so the way it was supposed to happen was the billing was supposed to change over from there. I think we got extra 2 days or 3 days. It was supposed to switch from them. They were supposed to get pushed back, and then we were supposed to get extended and pay for it. But I guess I can say now it's a couple of record companies later from Vernon, but they were like, "Yeah, don't worry about it." So
that's cool.
3 days of studio time, were either not charged at all or paid for by Living Color.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
So I'll be grateful forever for that. And then we went to Unique Studios and mixed. Bobby Nathans, he used to own Unique Studios.
Love Bobby.
And Mark Epstein then came in and played bass on 1 or 2 songs at the end during the mix process. And then I did all the rest of my solos during the mix process. So Dave would get a song ready to mix, and then I was mic'd up, and he goes, "All right, you got a couple passes to solo." And I did solos. That's how tight a budget we were on in those days.
Wow.
So, but it was cool.
Do you remember what solos they were that you didn't?
In the Seduction, Temporary Thing, People, Places, and Things, and it might have been There Was a Time.
Mm-hmm. First of all, those songs are all, I mean, every song on that record is pretty
amazing.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
Pretty outstanding.
Thank you.
And knowing those songs, that's pretty special that those solos at that time are on those songs, because those are great solos. I mean, every song has a very memorable solo in it.
Thank you. I had at least a year of playing most of those songs, and I had stumbled upon certain things. I still play that way now. I'm a little looser now, but all those songs had solos where this is really like, this is set in stone, and then I have a couple measures where it's not set in stone.
Yeah.
And then this is, and then I'm coming back to this for a melody. In the solo, and then I have freedom here, and then this is locked in, and freedom here. I do that now, except I just do it longer stretches. But so what happened was, over the year of playing those songs, is you go, "Oh, this works. This is now part of the melody of the solo section." And so I would always do this section, and then there's open spots that could be anything, and then there's this section. The Seduction is like that. Political Rain is definitely that. There's sections of Political Rain where most people think the solo starts. For me, it's like another 36 bars before the solo starts, that I'm playing what still to me is part of the melody, but it's in the solo section.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I always play the beginning of probably the first 36 bars of Political Rain the same, and then I have open stuff. And now there are parts of the I was listening to the record version. There's parts that I've been playing probably for a good 10, 15 years that aren't even on the record, but I treat it like it was on the record.
Yeah.
And then I have whole sections that I can play over and over. And one of the coolest things for me with that song, with Political Rain, 2 things happen with that. As I said, I'm self-taught, so I stumbled upon things by accident. Then I had to come up with my own, when I was teaching years and years ago, I had to come up with my own philosophy on how this works and why this works and why this doesn't work. And I was fortunate enough to open a few shows for Eric Johnson, and I think it was the second show I opened for Eric Johnson. I played Political Rain, and afterwards his tech came up. We did the show, and I'm trying to get my pedal board and my gear off the stage as quick as possible, so Eric can get, they can get Eric's stuff on. I don't want to be that guy that interrupts Eric's show.
Right.
And his tech came over and goes, Eric wants to speak with you. I go, well, let me just get the stuff. He goes, no, I got it. So he took my stuff off the stage. I went up to the room. Eric's sitting there. He's got a little amp and a guitar, and he's playing these really beautiful chords. And he said some really nice stuff to me. And he's like, yeah, it was beautiful what you're doing. You're doing this, and you add all this. He's like naming all this stuff. And I'm like, no, I was playing A minor G F. He goes, no, you were. So, yeah, I was playing a major scale, and then I did some minor pentatonics. And he goes, no, you're doing this. And it was great because he analyzed what I was doing way more than I did. And then years later, I did a clinic at Berklee School of Music. That's my second one, with a friend of mine, John Finn, who teaches there. And so this time we did it in the classroom. I had the band with Jimmy Jackson, and I don't remember who was playing bass, maybe Antar. But anyway, so we did 2 songs, and then I did Political Rain, and John stopped the class right there. He goes, all right, so we're gonna pick this apart. And I learned more about how I play and then that song during that class, because he just ripped apart everything that I was doing and explained it. And I was like, really? I'm doing what? Could you say that again? Let me write this down. And it was like it was the same thing. Eric Johnson did that later on. Actually, is the Boston thing happened before the Berklee thing happened before the Eric Johnson, but it was both on that song. So
wow.
And I have always gotten questions from people about playing modally, and I'm like, I don't play modally, and now I understand that I do, but it's by accident.
Sure. Sure. Awesome. I just want to say hello to John BL5150 and Sylvesterado. And Frank Corcoran says, I saw Larry through Dave N, and to this day I listen to Larry very much, and Larry's been a big influence on me learning the guitar.
Oh, cool. Thanks, Frank.
And Gabriel Tone Guitar says, when is Larry coming back to Phoenix?
When we're all allowed to move, I will probably be back there this year when we're all allowed to move again.
Rob's EVH Guitar says, great show, guys. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob.
Cool. So that's the first record. And then my personal favorite, Mind, Body, and Soul.
Really? Okay.
Well, for 2 reasons. That guitar right there.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that I was in the studio when you were making that record. And I remember you being in the control room playing guitar parts. And just me being like, I can't believe I'm in here. I can't believe I'm here with him. I got to be at work in 2 hours. Oh my God, it's 4:30 in the morning.
Hey, you had a long way to drive.
Yeah, well, I had to drive you and then drive back home, and it was just fun, it was a lot of fun. And then driving your gear, I had a, 1989 or 88 Nissan Sentra.
Yes.
And at that time, that was a very small car. I guess it's always been a small car. And Larry at that time,
300 pounds. At
that time, we had a 16 space rack with at least 5 guitars and 2 Hartke 212 speakers, and that was for small gigs.
Yeah.
Large gigs was two 412 cabinets
or 9 with the crunch.
Yeah, but I didn't have to carry those, thank God. But a 16 space shock mounted rack filled with gear, and 5 guitars. At least 5 guitars in hard cases.
Yeah.
No gift bags.
There was no room.
No. And these 2.
Mind you, I didn't start driving until 1999.
Oh, so funny. It was so funny. So I started out with Larry as I'll tell the quick story. We have a mutual friend in his name is Ira. And Ira worked for Sam Ash, and he was my salesperson. And he was like, "Hey man, why don't you come down to this? My friend Larry Mitchell's doing this in-store clinic, and come down and check him out. I'm like, okay, sure, Larry Mitchell, yeah, why not? Of course.
That was at the Carl. Was it Carl Place?
It was in Carl. It was one of the first things that happened at Carl Place when it moved from Hempstead. Yeah.
And Tom Tanaka from Ibanez was there. The president of Ibanez.
That's amazing.
The birth of the TS9DX.
Wow. Yeah. So I go to this. So I go to the store, and I immediately get back. Invited to. I mean, the stage. There was not really a stage area. It was the middle of the floor, a little stage. And, chairs set up, and Ira says, come on back. I'm going to introduce you to Larry. So I got introduced to Larry, and I was a little starstruck. I was like, man, it's my first celebrity I've ever met. And immediately I was drawn to this guitar, which was all white at the time. It wasn't multicolored yet. It was all white pickups. And I was like, man, that is the coolest looking guitar I've ever seen, because I was playing, not that I was playing, but I owned some 7-string guitars. I was into Steve Vai. I was into the Ibanez thing, and I saw that guitar, and it was a beautiful looking guitar. And the first thing that Larry did was, here, check it out. And I'm like, I don't even know you. You're letting me play your guitar. It's like, it's only a guitar. Here, check it out. So I play it, and I'm like, I can't believe, already I was like, I want to be this guy's friend. So he does his thing, he does his clinic, and I go up to him after, and I'm like, man, it was so cool, great meeting. He's like, here's my number. Call me when you want to hang out. I'm like, call you? Holy crap. I was like, okay, great. Called him in the next couple of days. I'm like, do you remember me? I'm that little guy from the. It's like, yeah, I remember you. Want to come over? Okay. And I came over. It was instant friendship. It was like an instant friendship. It was incredible. And so that's it. So, so I would tag along to his shows, and then eventually I'd be like, I can help you out if you want. I'll hand you guitars or whatever. I think he broke a string on a song at one point. I took it and fixed it for him and gave it back to him or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but I became his guitar tech. And then from there, we went around the tri-state area, all around. And then for his third record, which we'll start talking about in a second, Larry asked me to play acoustic guitar on the record. And I was, at that point, I was, oh my God, I can't believe I'm in Larry's band.
Did you play on the record?
No, I didn't play on the record. I played the live shows, but not the record.
Yeah.
But for the record, not on the record, but for the record.
We have to go backward for a second, because Dave did something to me that I will never forget. After my second record came out, I was trying to figure out what to do, and it wasn't after. It was what led up to making the second record. There was a company in New Hampshire that was interested in me. They wanted to try and license the first record, but we couldn't get that to happen. So they said, you should make another record. And it's like, all right, we've kind of figured out how to do that. And the guy, he's since passed away, but he said, there's a record, we're going to put the record out, but there's a record company convention up in New Hampshire. You should come up and play it. It'll be good for the record, promo for the record. I'm like, well, how much does it pay? And he goes, it doesn't pay anything. I'm like, I can't bring a band from New York to come up there to play. And the convention was in Rhode Island. And he goes, well, you can use my band. I'm like, okay. And I didn't even think about it again. And Dave's laughing now. He knows it. So I didn't know. I talked to this, who was actually one of my good friends now, Mark Bond. He worked in the music store. He was going to play bass. And we would talk over the songs over the phone. And he never played a bass in his hand. He always had a guitar in his hand. He was, so he's like playing the guitar, the bass lines on the guitar. And he says, Jeff, the drummer's learning stuff, is going to be cool. I gave him some songs to learn. And so I said, Dave, it's like a 5, 6, 7, 8 hour drive. I don't know how long it was. It's crazy.
It was a long drive in the snow.
In the snow. And so Dave said, yeah, I'm up for it. We'll go in. So we drive, and nobody had cell phones. We have GPS. The drummer, we were going to spend the night at the drummer's house. And, but we needed to know where the rehearsal was. And he said, call me. Here's my number. Call me when you get to Burlington, Vermont. And that's a good spot to call, because I don't know how far it'll take you to get to my house. You drop your stuff off, and then we'll go to rehearsal. And so we pull up. He goes, "There's a Chinese restaurant that they play at. Use the phone there." So we found that. I get out. I make a phone call. I get back in the car. It's freezing, and Dave looks at me, deadpan. He goes, "So, what are you gonna do if these guys suck?" And I was like, "You bring that up after we've been driving for hours? Hours? It never occurred to me. Never occurred to me." And I'm like, so for the next, I don't know, half hour, 40 minutes, was all that was going through my mind. I was like, oh crap. I committed to doing this record convention to launch a new record with a band I haven't even met yet and never heard them play before. And so we pull up to, we meet Jeff and we go, he takes us to, we're rehearsing, which was an old chocolate factory, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But it's now a party because there were all these people there. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I figured, let me do the hardest song first to see where they're at. And then I can go backwards and work song-wise. So we do Political Rain. And they nailed it. It was great. You remember?
It was amazing. It was like, I worried Larry for no reason. I was like, and that was my first mistake. And you know what? I made one mistake like that one more time in my whole career knowing him. I'll tell this story real quick, and then we can get back to that. So Larry's playing his place in Jersey, and he had one guitar with him. He brought one guitar. I don't remember the reason why, but there was just one guitar, and the 5-way switch was broken. Something was wrong with it, and I got like 1 or 2 sounds to work, and I'm like, just don't break it. Whatever you do, don't break it, And he was like, Dave, whatever you do, don't do that to the artist. If anything, say it's going to be fine. Just use it like this. It's going to be fine. Anything. Don't put anything negative into the artist's mind. And at that point on, that clicked in my head is like, what am I doing? Why would I make him worry? He's exactly right. Why didn't I just say everything's going to be fine? Play it like that. You'll be good.
Yeah, not going on stage is probably not a good thing to say.
Yeah.
Right before someone goes on stage.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was very cool. I teched as well. If you have John Levin on, I teched for John at one of their record companies. He uses a band called Devious. I think it was Devious that did it.
Yeah, I love that band.
With Greg Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And so John didn't have anybody, so I helped John out. And he had two guitars that he loved. And it was a Kramer, because he had endorsement Kramer, and the guitar fell off the stand during the show, and the headstock snapped. So the E and the B string they had no more. They were just hanging there. They were, that was holding the headstock on. So eventually, like I picked the guitar up, I tuned. It was still in tune because it was a locking tremolo with a Floyd. And John's like, give me the other guitar. I was like, I don't know. He goes, no, give me the other guitar. So I had to give it to him. It was in tune. I gave it to him. But I gave it to him like 2 songs later than he wanted it. And he's like, I don't know why you didn't give it to me before. And so the last song, I finally said, John, look at the headstock. And he looked, he freaked. But I didn't tell him until like the last song, towards the end of the song. Because he wanted to play that guitar.
Yeah.
And so I gave it back to him, but I had to make sure it was in tune.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, it's probably not a good idea because the focus should be on the show and performing, and
not on what may go wrong or what has gone wrong. Yeah, it's crazy.
But it's all good. It's all good. We live and learn.
Yeah. So Larry, you went old school and did a pickup band in Burlington, Vermont. Have you done pickup bands anywhere else?
Let's say I have a rhythm section in Russia. I have one in Italy. I have Jeff and Charlie, who I played a NAMM show with every year, and I've been playing off and on with those guys. They were in Seattle for 20 years, over 20 years. Over 25 years. So when I go up to Seattle, Tacoma, that Pacific Northwest up there with Jeff and Charlie. In New York, I have several versions of my band. When I go back to New Mexico, I have a band rhythm section that's played stuff with me. In San Diego, I have a rhythm section that's played with me. Um, and then the last group of guys that I played with consistently, Russ and Austin live in Nashville now, so I could play with those guys there. I also have another rhythm section in Nashville that I play with. So yeah, I'm not afraid to do it anymore. I was never afraid, but that yeah, Dave put the fear of God in me when what are you gonna do if these guys suck?
All right.
Like, oh God. And so now I don't worry about it. I'm a little bit more cautious, I guess, when I pick the bands and send some material. I had one experience last year where I did a show. I won't mention the country because I was out of the United States, and the rhythm section was just really great, and the drummer could not do the last show, and the drummer that played the last show had a ton of technique and a ton of chops, and that's what you saw. And the musical sense and being a sideman, he didn't quite understand. He's going to be, he has the potential to be great. He's got ridiculous chops, but that's not what I needed, every of the show.
Right.
So that was but the bass player, was good. And the whole rhythm section was great, except the last show. So most of the time, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's a good experience, or 8 times out of 10, it's a good experience. And 1 time out of 10, it's absolutely an amazing experience. First time I went to Russia, I had a different rhythm section every city. And the first rhythm section was ridiculously great musical ears. They charted my stuff out, and I'm like, really, you guys wrote, they had everything, drums, bass. I had only sent them 7 songs to learn, and I was planning on doing a mini acoustic set in the middle of it. For the time, it would have made a nice show. But after we did the 7 songs at the sound check rehearsal, they were like, what about this song? And they had learned other stuff off of YouTube.
Wow.
They put in extra effort to do. They're like, oh, we like this song. Do you want to play it? And like, they knew it.
That's awesome.
So most of the time, it works out really well. And actually, I have a rhythm section in Sheridan, Wyoming. There's a guy that contacted me about playing Sheridan. I'm like, I don't know if I have a following in Sheridan. It sounds cool. I've been to Wyoming before. It'd be nice to come to play if you can make it work. And he did. And let's say now I have a new rhythm section there, a band. Actually, the keyboard player is great, and actually Raleigh's playing bass, and it's really good. I've gone back. This year would be the 3rd year if I get to go back and play.
Awesome.
So we have a really good time.
So we're gonna skip ahead for just a second. BV Ninja says, "Salute Dave and Ty." Larry, one of my favorite tracks is The Unforgiven from The Traveler. Does Larry have any story behind that track and album?
That's a great song.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. There's lots of stories behind it. There's How We Got a Dog story about it. We got the Nags connection. You want to do the Nags connection?
Sure.
Yeah.
I was home. I had the track. Didn't have a name. A lot of times I have a name right when I first started or right before I start a piece. And sometimes the name changes, but that comes from in Pro Tools when you create a session and you want to create the title of the session ahead of time, so you can keep track of everything. So but I didn't have the title, and I was home working, and I got a message from a friend of mine that if I'm right, her father had owned a music store and he had passed away, and the only thing that her and her mom had kept were 2 of his guitars, his personal guitars. So she called me. I think she called me and said, "I'm in your town. I have one of my father's guitars. Would you mind playing it for me?" And I was like, "How do you say no?" So I said, "Sure." She came over. First time she was here, I opened the case and it was a white private stock PRS guitar.
Oh wow!
And I was working. I was tracking with my first Nags guitar, so I put that down. I pick up the guitar. On the back of it, signed Joe Nags. So Joe built the guitar.
Oh cool!
And I played it for a while, and it felt incredible. And I just turned to the board, and I hit play and record. And the very first single version of that I released, I did a one-take solo, and it's with that guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Afterwards, I believe she said something to the effect of, "Thank you for helping me remember my father," and that's when Unforgotten came out. That's when I knew it was the title.
That's awesome.
Good story.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I was started out with one Joe Nags guitar and ended up with another one playing stuff like that. So it was, yeah, it was an interesting moment.
That's awesome. So real quick, Larry, while we're talking about Nags guitars, I'd like to introduce the new Nags guitar of the family. Ty, why don't you show your new Nags guitar?
You want me to pull that out now?
Yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, Dave and I had a really great conversation with Eric Steckel. And there was a guitar that Nags built last year, a Candy, yeah, that they built last year that I missed out on whenever they were released. And so, you're always keeping your eyes open for those things that are elusive. And so in preparation for our Steckel conversation, I asked him a lot of questions about Candy, and he was very open, honest, friendly, and just shared everything he knew about the guitar. And I explained to him that in the backstage area of this, I explained to him that I had always wanted one. I hated that I missed it, but they went in less than an hour. I mean, they were gone. But I'm not a guitar collector. I'm a player, and I go out and I play them. And I had gotten rid of some guitars recently that haven't been playing, and lo and behold, just out of the blue, a Candy popped up last week, and I grabbed it.
Oh wow!
And this is it. So this is a Nags Candy. This is one of three that have the Brazilian rosewood board. It was made. There's Joe's signature right there on the back. Which is
hang on. Let me get you solo.
Cool. Yeah. So this is Candy. She's got a great chevron top on her, just spectacular. It is a relic guitar. It's made in tribute to that 1960s burst Candy, and so Joe Nags builds a wonderful guitar. So it's a mahogany body, this maple cap, mahogany neck, Brazilian board. It's got an ebony headstock veneer on it, aged nickel hardware, Kluson tuners, vintage bone nut, standard Les Paul type 2-volume, 2-tones, set up 10 to 46. This one weighs just a little over 8 pounds. Very comfortable guitar, and it has these pickups, these Candy pickups. And
does that have the Les Paul wiring, the 59, 58 wiring? Do you know?
I don't know. I
would imagine it does.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I would imagine it does too. But it was. It's been it's been fun. And again, I'm not a collector. I don't play. I mean, I don't collect them. I go out and play them. And I was talking to my good friend Jay, and he just got a new Nags as well with these pickups. And we were having a conversation yesterday, just how incredible these. They're made by Seymour Duncan, Alnico 2 replica. They reverse engineered the original Candy Les Paul pickups. Came up with these. These are just amazing. And I love the vintage inspired humbuckers. I mean, mules have been my favorite humbucker in a Les Paul for a long time, for that vintage kind of thing. And these things, I'm blown away. I love it. I love it. It's a great guitar. Sounds great. Plays great. Rings like a bell, and it's fun, right? So if it inspires you to pick it up and play it, that's always a good thing.
I've been saying for a while that we all have to get back to that. That feeling when you open a case up, just like what you did when you first started playing. You open the case up, or you get that first guitar that's absolutely amazing. Every time you open it up and you look at it, you're like, wow, this is cool. This is my guitar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then inspired to play every second.
Yeah, there's another one out there for sale now that I'm trying to get my hands on. I'm doing the best I can. I just hope it stays there long enough where I can get it, but we'll see.
Yeah, so I've been a big fan of Nags guitars for quite a while, and
what else do you have? You have another one?
I have on the way. So
okay.
You can tell. I mean, we both have the same guitar coming.
I had another one. I had another one, and a good friend of mine has that guitar now, and he's wearing it out. So it was another Kanai. Great guitar. I asked Peter Wolf one time. I said, I texted him and said, I'm just blown away at the playability. Everything about this guitar is just exquisite. And what am I supposed to do with all the other nice guitars I have? He said, sell them and buy more Nags guitars.
That seems to be what's going to happen between me and Ty. I think that's what's going to happen a lot. We're going to sell a lot of guitars and start buying those things. I think they're probably the best guitars made right now. They really are.
I think they're pretty amazing guitars. They sound great and they're beautiful. They're playable works of art.
Yeah. So Ben Rossum says his Steve Stevens is the second one with the low whine Steve Stevens PAF style pickups in it. He says he plays his Nags every single day. It's very cool.
Nice.
I can't wait to say that.
You're gonna love the J.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I guess they haven't started building it yet because unfortunately with this COVID-19, life has come to a standstill. But one day, I'm right now. I have plenty of guitars to play, but I'll get some, and then I'll probably buy one in the meantime while I'm waiting for it. Reverb is a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So all right. So that's your model there, correct, Larry? That's the newest one?
Yes, the newest one.
Yeah. That's a great guitar.
Larry, did your first model with them have a rosewood board?
Yes.
Yep.
It has a Cocobolo.
Yeah, gorgeous.
Yeah. There's a couple guitars that look like that on Reverb at the moment, but with humbuckers in the bridge. It's the same color scheme. Very, very nice guitars. All those Severns are great. They're just ridiculous.
I played this on the show a couple days ago, and after changing strings. Yeah. Safety tip. It's probably mute by now, but because most people have their guitars have been in the house for 14 days by now. But if by some chance you haven't, change your strings because it's metal.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So my was on metal for the longest, I believe.
Yeah.
So might as well change the strings. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, stay safe. Change your strings. What if you get something new? Wipe the box down. Use handy wipes. Anything, something with alcohol on it, and wipe the box down. Wipe the case down. Then wipe the guitar down.
Yes.
And change your strings. Yeah. So, all right. So what's next? So we get to Escape.
Uh-huh.
Do you want to talk about that record, or do you want? I know you don't generally like talking about what you do in your house gigs, but is there any part of that you'd like to discuss on here?
It was a record of that had to be made. I'll say this way. It wasn't the record I was intending to make. The record I was intending to make was an electric record called Insatiable, the first version of Insatiable. Everybody gave me help. People played on it. It was my first time in the studio. My friend Sam said, "You need to make a record." I go, "Sam, I don't have a budget to make a record. I don't need money to make a record." And back then, you needed gear. You needed, to spend a lot. Now we can make a record on our phones, or an iPad, or a laptop with a $200 interface if you want. But that wasn't an option then. And my friend Sam had gear in his basement. And he goes, you can come to my house. You can use the studio, make a record. So every day I would go to Sam's house, and I would sit there and stare at gear because I had only been on the other side. I had done a 4-track before, but I'd never full on engineered and retract lots of stuff other than a 4-track. And I called friends, engineers, producers, people who put major artists on hold, explain to me how to hook up a rack mount compressor and how to use this and how to use that. And I basically and people came down and played on it, and I made an awful record, which never got released. And my friend Jeff came down. He would come by every now and then and to help me out. And so he would sit there and he would listen. He goes, "Uh-huh. What else you got?" I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay." And after a while, he's like, "What happened to those acoustic songs that you've been playing? You played once." I was living in Manhattan at the time, and it's a tiny apartment, and most of my gear was in storage or in Dave's garage, or back in Far Rockaway. And so I had an acoustic guitar, and I think I might have had one electric guitar, no amp, but I had an acoustic guitar and a Yamaha QY20 sequencer. And for fun, I taught myself how to sequence on that, and I programmed 10 songs, and they were based off acoustic. That's what I was using. So my friend Jeff said, "What about those songs?" I said, "Okay." He goes, "Why don't you practice with those, record those?" So I practiced with those. I did that in 2 weeks. I had more fun working on that. Learned a lot more about it. He gave all the advice that everybody gave me was easier to apply on the acoustic record than it was on making the electric record. And I was happy with it, but it wasn't my normal sound. I was Mr. Rock and Roll guitar player. Mm-hmm. And so Jeff came back one day, and I was still trying to fix the electric record. He would listen to it. He goes, "Okay, so what else you got?" And so I go, "I got those acoustic stuff." So he heard it, and he goes, "Wow, why don't you let me mix this for you?" And I'm like, "Let you mix it. You mix records for a living. Be my guest. Mix it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but mix it. Sure." So he mixed it. He happened to be up at Master Disc, which is a place that charges lots and lots of money to master a record. And he called me. He said, "Hey, I'm at Master Disc, and there's a guy named Andy here who heard the acoustic stuff, and he wants to master it." I'm like, "Master it? Why would you?" I don't have the money to pay for mastering. We're talking like, back then it was probably 10 grand to master a record at Masterdisc. He goes, no, he wants to master your record. So I'm like, sure. So now I have a cassette of a mastered acoustic record, and which sounded great, and a cassette of a horribly tracked, horribly written, horribly recorded electric record. And at that point, I could not stop the acoustic record from coming out. I'll run through it. I stopped up at Guitar World magazine, saw Robert Dye. He goes, "You recording, right?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'd love to hear some stuff." And I was like, "I got some acoustic songs." So I played him that. He said, "I like this. Can I have a copy?" I said, "Sure, keep that." I had more cassettes because that's what we had, cassettes. And that was on a Friday. On Monday, Robert calls me up and goes, "Hey, do you have artwork for this record?" I'm like, "What record?" He goes, "What you left here." I said, "No, I don't have artwork for it." He goes, "Well, you got a great review." I was like, "How could I have a review?" He goes, "Well, you got a review. Somebody came in that was dropping off reviews, heard it, wanted to review it, reviewed it, brought in a review, was glowing, and we have room in the next issue." I'm like, "Next issue?" And basically, I needed to make a decision that week. And if I was going to release it, because you're not going to put a review in a magazine that if for a record that's not available, I needed artwork. I needed so many things. And every step of the way, somebody appeared that said, "Oh, that's what I do." Artwork happened. Ran into someone that I'd only ever seen in clubs at night. She says, "Hey, what are you working on?" I said, "Well, I'm trying to figure out if I want to release this record. I need artwork." She goes, that's what I do. I'm like, okay. I needed film output to press CDs because you couldn't just do it in Photoshop then. This girl that I knew had given me a birthday card with a gift certificate in it. She was starting a company years before that for one free print job, for one free kind of art job thing like that. Called her up. Her company was huge at the time. I went in. She did all the output that I needed, and it was amazing. I got distribution because I walked by Tower Records, and one of the managers there was outside, and he remembered that I had done an in-store appearance there. And he goes, "You got a new record?" I said, "Well, I do." He goes, "Who's the record label?" I said, "I don't have a record label." He goes, "Who's distributing?" I said, "I don't have a distributor." And he goes, "Well, hold on." Goes in, comes back out, hands me a card, goes, "Call these guys. They distribute. They're right here in New York. And when they distribute your record, let me know, and we'll buy copies, and we'll get you into an in-store." That's how I got distribution.
Wow.
Every step of the way, there's more. There's so many details. I could not have stopped the record. All I had to do was stay out of the way. And it took on a life of its own.
Oh,
and
cool.
At that point, I was like, I'm putting out an acoustic record because I can't, the electric record sounds horrible, and everybody seems to be helping to make this work. And I'm very, very happy I did.
It's a great record. Really an amazing record.
Thank you.
I remember having a hard time learning it.
We did a J&R Music World. Me, you, and was it Jeff?
Yeah, the three of us. Yeah. That was amazing. It was incredible. But there's some songs on there that are not easy. They're just not easy.
I was experimenting, so I would do like 8 guitar tracks. Some of the songs have 8 layers of guitar parts.
Yeah.
And that was part of my learning, and it helped me figure out my whole layering process that I do now for as guitars and keys and everything else. Mm-hmm. So it was a learning experience for me that way.
I don't remember whose house it was or what apartment it was. I remember there was a terrace, an outdoor terrace, and you brought me up there to practice these songs. And there's one song I can't remember what the name of it is. One of them in the later part of that CD that had so many intertwining guitar parts in it, and no matter how much you showed me, I was like, I don't know.
Cinderella.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Do you remember me having a hard time with that song? And you're like, "Dave, you got to get this song down." I'm like,
yeah, because every part depends on every next part depends on the part before it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like a big cycle. It's like you play this part, and then I'm going to play this part, and then you take over the part I just played, and the next person plays the part that you were just playing.
It was tough. It was so exciting to learn that stuff and be playing it next to you, but it was so hard. It was not easy. And rock and roll is supposed to be easy, but that wasn't easy.
You know what's not easy? Because it's the 30th anniversary of my first record. I've been, I do a Tuesday Night Live every Tuesday,
which is awesome.
So
thank you for doing that, by the way.
Yes.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. I've been concentrating the songs from the first record, and our friend Jay Hannon has been helping me with drum stuff. And I talked to Eve the other day. Eve sent me drum tracks for In God We Trust.
Mm-hmm.
And all I could say is that first record, I was 24, 25, 26. You write things at 26 for reasons unknown. Like I was out of breath playing those songs the other day. They're all really fast, and then the guitar parts are dizzying for me. Mm-hmm. So that's Political Rain. I never stopped playing. So I mean, and it's really fast, but In God We Trust, Temporary Thing has been fast. The Seduction has a lot of stuff in it. Sun, I've only played Sun on a Tuesday Night Live maybe twice because that is crazy fast. And I'm like, and it has a couple of these wide stretches that I do as my warm-up exercise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my warm-up exercise now was regular guitar parts in Sun back then. And so all those songs are just like fast, and I was like, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Playing these, coming up with these parts or the tempos too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jay Hannon, Larry, he would like to know if you still have the sessions from that electric record that was shelved.
God, no.
Yeah,
I probably do on a DA38 tape. Pro Tools didn't exist then.
He also wanted to remind you that that he's good for a rhythm guitarist whenever you're in South Carolina. At least for one song, he says.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Vince Dallas says hi.
Hey, Vince. Jay came and did one of my Tuesday Night Lives. He did we did a Temporary Thing, I think it was.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, he said he had a great time doing that. He said like playing guitar next to one of his all-time heroes.
Jay,
he's a great guy. Jay Hannon.
We should have a show in New York where everybody comes and plays.
Yeah. How about right here? How about right in here?
Yeah, Johnny's got to come to New York. Ty, where are you at, Ty?
I'm in South Carolina.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
What part? What town? What city?
I'm in Columbia. I'm in the capital city.
Okay.
We've got a few South Carolinians in here tonight.
Cool. I have family in. I know my mom is watching. I can't remember. Sumter.
Yeah.
Sumter.
Mm-hmm.
But I've actually stayed in Columbia. There's a guy that's William is in South Carolina, I think. Right?
Oh, Bill. Yeah, Bill Gadwall.
Bill.
Yeah, he's in Charleston.
He's in Charleston.
Okay.
There's a guy. There was a record shop that I was going to go and play at. It was an actual record shop there that's in some Columbia, too. I can't remember the name of it right now.
Mm-hmm.
But cool.
William Errol says that he is in Northeast Columbia, South Carolina, which is, and I'm downtown, so we're probably 10, 15 minutes away from one another.
Cool.
Talking about learning from the community. This is the community, right?
Right.
I know that I know my friend Jay is here. He's in Lexington, so he's about 20 minutes away. My friend Dale is in here, the RAS, and he's probably 10 minutes away. So and then Jay's over in Little River. Jay Hannon's in Little River, so he's a couple hours away. But yeah, we have a few South Carolinians here tonight.
Very nice.
Yep.
Bet Rossum, actually, he says, Larry, if you come to Philadelphia, will you play my Fiesta Red 69 Strat for one song?
A 69 Strat?
Yeah.
I'll have to brave it. I'll have to tough it, but sure. Yeah, love to.
I'll play it.
I absolutely love to. Is it maple fretboard?
He doesn't say yet. Hang on, I'll let you know. Huh. Joe Harvey says he'll come over here. Cool, I'll have you over, Joe. Joe lives in Suffolk County here on Long Island. He says it's rosewood. Rosewood.
Cool.
At first he said it's rose wrong, but it's
Rose wrong.
Rose wrong. It's rosewood. All right. So where do we go from there? So Insatiable, that did come out, yes?
No, all right. So
A version of it?
when I moved to San Diego, I worked on 2 records, Temptation and then Insatiable. The Insatiable that did come out, the only song from the horrible version of Insatiable that made it was Insatiable.
Mm-hmm.
And
now,
it's actually one of my popular more asked for songs now.
Yes, you play that song. You play that all the time, and that song was written in the Mind, Body, and Soul days.
Yes, I don't know why it didn't come out on Mind, Body, Soul. I really don't.
I don't either. But the original version that is not on any of the records, I think I miss that version. It's similar to the version that you play, but there's like, I don't know, there was something about it when you played it as a 3-piece with Jimmy Jackson and who played bass?
God knows. We changed bass player. At that point, it was like changing bass players every couple of months, different bass players. So I don't know. Mark
Epstein. It would have been Mark Epstein. Yeah. You guys played a version of that back then that was just ridiculous. It was incredible. And then I guess you kind of rewrote it for the records a little bit differently, or you rewrote some parts a little bit differently, but it's a little different.
I just didn't remember.
Oh, okay.
For my Tuesday Night Live show and for clinics and house concerts, I was like, somebody kept asking me about doing Family Angel, which I don't. There's version of that came out on Mind, Body, Soul as well, and then it was on another record at some point. But so I thought I knew the song, so I programmed, and got everything happening, played some bass. I'm doing it, and someone said, "Hey, that's a nice new different version." I was like, "Different? How is it different?" I went back and listened to the record and go, "Oh, it's different."
Mm-hmm.
Because that was going from memory, and my memory is from like all the years you play songs, and then they start to change a little bit.
Evolve.
Oh yeah, like Political Rain. It's funny that you had mentioned that you listened to the record version. It must have gone so fast for you compared to what it is now.
No, the tempo that has to stay the same because
I don't mean the tempo. I mean the length.
Oh yeah.
The length of the song. Those of you who don't know what I'm talking about. Throughout the years, and it's been many years that Larry's been playing the song "Political Rain" from his first record, and the song has gained parts to it. In the last 30 years, it has gained as many minutes.
I've taken out the whole middle section now. I have a recorded 22-minute version of that song.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's like an anthem with you. Love it.
For the record, we originally on the record, Dave made me cut a minute off of that. It was 9.5 minutes. I think on the record it's 8.5 minutes or 7.5 minutes. It was originally either 8.5 and cut down to 7.5, or 9.5 and cut down to 8.5. But live, there would be this thing where we would break it down. I would go out in the audience, and I would end up sitting on a lovely lady's lap, and so that made the song be like really long, and it got longer and longer and longer. Like I said, I think I have from the San Diego days a 22-minute version of that song.
Oh wow!
And in the live from NHK. There's a Japanese TV came and did Live from the Bottom Line.
Yeah.
Which I'm so happy that they stuck my show with. It aired with Eric Johnson's show, which is great.
Oh, that's cool.
But that is, I think there's a long version of that because I went out and my friend Lisa her mom was there. Her mom had had a liver transplant, and she used to come to shows and just live every. She was inspiration because she was like enjoying every moment before she passed, and so I went out in the audience and I ended up sitting on her lap throughout the song, and it ended up being a long version of the song on that show too. They might have cut some minutes out of it on the TV show.
Yeah, I think I have a video of it. Well, it's on YouTube now.
Yeah.
That's forever on YouTube. But yeah, that's great. BV Ninja says, if I remember correctly, the acoustic record has a volume 1 as part of the title, which implies a volume 2 sometime. Any plans, or does it exist and have we missed it?
I have 4 new acoustic songs now. Depending on how long this quarantine thing goes on, my goal right now is to try and release a new electric record by the end of the month, or EP at least. I probably will release a new EP, acoustic EP, which would be Acoustic Passages Volume 2, in May, the end of May, if that happens. Or if I don't feel I'm really ready, it depends. Whichever one I finish first, I would like to do the electric record first. But if I, which I think I'm closer to, if I don't, then I will release the acoustic record. But yeah, I've been working on it.
So, talking about the new electric record, this past Tuesday, I believe you did a new song. Am I correct?
Shadows on the Soul.
Now that song, if you haven't heard it, you need to watch Larry on his next Tuesday night or Monday. You do a show on Monday as well, correct?
No, I did. It's weird since I've been gigging a lot since we've had this quarantine. I did a show called the Isolated Sessions series for Gated Cases, Kaiser Kempo's, G7 Kempo, Capos, a couple of companies that put on this show for artists. And then I did my show. My show is still only on Tuesdays.
Okay.
8 o'clock Eastern time, but on YouTube, and 9 o'clock Eastern time on Facebook. And then so Monday I did the Isolated Session series show, and I played Shadows on the Soul there. And then this past Tuesday, I did my YouTube, Facebook, and then afterwards I did a benefit for a town in California on their Facebook page. So I've done 5 shows this week.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So
what
I was saying is that if you haven't heard that song, you guys need to listen. You need to listen closely. That's a great song. It's right from the get-go. It has a catchy hook.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thank you. That's one of those modal songs when I realized that I was actually modal. I was like, oh wow, this is why this works and this is why this does not work. So it's interesting.
Yeah. So shall we talk guitars? Shall we talk a little guitars? We have some time left. We still have some time. So, all right. So you have your Nags guitars. First of all, there's a couple Nags that I don't think everyone has seen so far. How about let's take a look at your Kanai, and let's take a look at the Kanai J if they're around.
I wasn't prepared.
If you're not, then no big deal. We can do it another time.
Nope. Talk amongst yourselves for 2 seconds.
If anyone has any questions for Larry, now's the time to ask. We have some time left, so we'll continue with that. Also, unfortunately, Larry was supposed to give us a demo on how to use a Ditto looper today, which it was the Ditto looper that we're giving away. Amongst other things that we're giving away. The giveaway hasn't been determined when we're doing it just yet. We haven't gotten all the prizes yet. But I'll go over the prizes again. I've been doing this pretty much every show. So the prizes we have 12 Eden Smile David Lee Roth unused passes that are kind of cool. Yeah, they're kind of cool. They're in the kitchen. I keep forgetting to bring them in here. We have a TC Electronics Alter Ego delay pedal we were giving away. We have a signed Eric Steckel CD. We will have a Ditto Looper, a TC Electronics Ditto Looper that's going to be signed by Larry Mitchell. We have one Skype guitar lesson by Andy Aladort, and we're going to be giving away a guitar that's set up by me. Now we haven't gotten the guitar just yet. We're waiting for that to get here, and we'll show what it is as soon as we get it, and I'll do the setup. Now, in order to be eligible to win any of these things, you have to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Without subscribing, you don't get to win. I'm sorry. But you do me the favor, you subscribe, you do us the favor and subscribe, and you will be able to win at least one or multiple gifts. It depends. Luck of the draw. But you can that's how we do it. And there may be more gifts. There may be more prizes, from between now and then. This is just what we have so far. And again, I'm not sure exactly when we're going to be drawing the prizes, but I'll let everyone know. Ty and I will let everyone know when we get all of them, and then we'll decide then. Okay, William Errol Dubas, sorry. USAF retired has a question for Larry, and we'll ask him as soon as he gets back. Do you have anything to add, Ty?
Well, I'm excited about being able to there's been so much generosity extended our way, Dave. This is an opportunity for us to give back. And we should mention that the guitar that we're going to give away at NEZ SEZ was donated by a viewer of this broadcast, and incredibly generous. And I'm not going to mention his name because I don't know if he wants to be identified. I mean, he can let me know. But the same with the Ditto Looper. You reached out to Andy and secured that. So all of these things are from generosity extended to the community here. So we are very appreciative.
I forgot one more. Ben Coombs was nice enough to remind me we also have a signed Sammy Bowler CD coming.
That's right.
Yes. So William Errol Dubose has a question for Larry. He says, what is the story or inspiration for Luna Drive?
Living in New Mexico. It's some of the most breathtaking just scenes, sights, nature, land, space, big sky. And that was just that. That's on the Sonic Temple record. I just remember still being in love with watching the sunset, when it's a full moon, how big the moons are, it's just being outside, big sky. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Can I donate a CD and a yo-yo?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. You can donate whatever you like. We'd love to have it.
Real yo-yos made in America.
What's the story behind the yo-yo, Larry? How did you come up with that as a giveaway?
I do some stuff with kids with autism, and every now and then somebody comes to a show. And one particular time I was up in Seattle, and a woman brought her grandson, and he wanted something. He just wanted. He had a great time for the show. I think Charlie gave him a drumstick. She bought him a T-shirt, which the small was too big on him, and he wanted a CD. We weren't sure he had a CD player. He wanted a picture, and I had nothing. I had all this stuff. Rosie up there sets up the tables, the merch tables, and we had all this cool stuff, but nothing for a kid really. So I left there going, I really would like to have something, even if I only bring 4 or 5 of them, had to be small that I can travel with merch-wise, that would be appealing to kids. I go to Phoenix from there, and I do a show, and there's a couple, Stephanie and Eric. I think Eric is watching here tonight. They came to the show. I had a nice time talking to them. And I got introduced to them by Philip McKnight. You guys know Philip?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So then I did a guitar clinic, and they came to that. And Eric came to the guitar clinic first. He said, "Hey, my wife Stephanie is going to be late. She's really apologetic." I was like, "Why? Don't worry about it. It's just it's a clinic." I'm surprised that they were coming to both shows. They'd just seen the show. So sure enough, Stephanie came in, and she was like, "I'm sorry, I'm late." I was like, "Okay." I'm like, "Okay." She goes, "Here's 2 yo-yos for you," which was random, really random. Well, Stephanie worked at Yo-Yo Factory, and so she gave me yo-yos, and I was like, "Wow, this is cool." And she goes, "I'll give you a lesson how to use it afterwards." So after the clinic, she showed me how to use it, which brought back a lot of memories. And I think I did better that first time than any other time after that. And she goes, "If I had known you were that excited about yo-yos, I would have put your logo on it." I'm like, "You could put my logo on a yo-yo?" She goes, "Yeah." So then we started, and it took off from there. So I have a signature yo-yo with my the same image that's on my fretboard. And yep, and I'm knocking stuff over here. Oh, that's gonna leave apart. So there's the image that's on the yo-yo.
That looks so cool.
On the back. 7th century, made out of wood. Love to figure out how to get an alder with a maple top one, but and then I gave one to Steve and turned Steve onto it.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, how cool!
That is an incredible story. That's a great story.
Yeah, so I have them. I also sell coloring books, and oddly, I've probably sold more yo-yos. I've definitely sold more yo-yos to adults than I have to kids.
That's funny. That's so cool. So I remember the first ones when you had them come here. They didn't have clear coating on them. I guess they're making really nice ones now for you, huh?
We're progressing.
That's so cool.
Different stuff. We're trying different stuff. Like I said, alder with a maple cap would be pretty nice. Or
what else would be nice?
Cap.
Spruce.
Pretty cool.
To match your Godin. A spruce one to match your Godin.
Oh yeah, that could be cool. Stephanie, if you're watching.
Very cool.
This is the Kanai.
Yes. Look at that thing.
That's gorgeous.
Made in last year during the 10th anniversary.
Ah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah. And it's the matte finish.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty slam.
I should play this more.
Yes, you should.
I should play it more.
It's beautiful. My first Kanai had a matte finish as well. And they do that very, very well.
It's the scale, because this is Gibson scale. I actually have an easier time playing the Kanais, but I still love the Severn shape. Strat scale, Severn shape, and a tremolo bar. But I do, I pick up the, this or the J, and I'm just kind of ripping around. And these have 10s. I have 9s on the Strat scale and 10s on the Gibson scale.
That with a Floyd Rose on it.
I think Steve's the only one that has one of those. Well, yeah, right?
Does Steve even have a Kanai? I thought all of his were Severns with Floyd's.
He's got a Kanai, not with a Floyd, but he's got one, I think, that has the Evertune on it.
Okay.
Yep.
And he's got the Cheetah pattern one that has. Is it made by Floyd Rose that you can put on a Les Paul without drilling?
Yes. Yeah. Floyd Rose has something like that. It's called the FRX, I believe.
I think that. I think. Yeah, I think that's what he has. I don't know. if Peter's in the chat.
I know I spoke to Peter today. He said he had me send him the link so he could watch, but I'm not sure if he's here.
Okay.
Dave, on that Floyd that you were just talking about, do you have to put a locking nut on the guitar?
Do you have to? You have to have some sort of locking tuners, but I believe the locking nut attaches to the truss rod cover.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you replaced the truss rod. It's something weird about it. You can put it on a Les Paul and not damage it.
It sits behind the nut on the truss rod cover.
Okay.
Man, I think about mid '80s when all those guys were taking '60s Strats and putting Floyd Roses on humbuckers.
Yeah.
I know.
That was an interesting time.
It was.
I know. Pretty crazy. And there's our baby right there. Oh boy.
This is a J. I saw this guitar. Peter had posted a picture of a J, his J, which is just the same color as this. And I mean, I was out someplace and I made a point to just text Peter, go, hey, what's the deal? You know, I had no forewarning. You can't just post pictures like that and not tell me it's coming out. I knew I wanted one the minute it came out.
Mm-hmm.
One P90, that's very versatile P90.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, both of us have one of those coming. Both Ty and myself.
Cool. With one P90 or two?
Yeah, one P90. It's the only way to get it. The only way that you should be getting it.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Larry has the best P90 story ever.
What P90 story?
The SG P90 story.
That Dave made me buy?
Actually, I didn't make you buy it. I'll tell the story because I think I remember it a little differently than you remember it. So Larry comes over to my house. He was like, "Let's go to music stores today." I'm like, "Okay." So we go to music stores. We go to Sam Ash, local Sam Ash, and he's looking around and we're looking around and I pick up on the ground on the floor on a stand was a guitar very similar to this one.
Yep.
A new one. This one's from 1962. But
yep.
It's a new one. It was very loud. I was like, oh, wow, SG 1P90, and I'm playing it. Larry's just sitting down, I think talking to someone or maybe playing a guitar. And I'm walking to him and playing it. I'm like, man, this thing sounds amazing. Just playing a G chord and a D chord, just acoustically. And I said, Larry, I think I'm going to get this. And he takes it from my hands and he said, and he's playing it. I said, here, check it out. I said, check this out. And he starts playing it. And he says, no, I'm getting it.
That is not how it happened. Not how it happened.
I like my story better. I'm sorry. I'm sticking to that story.
Okay. So the truth is, Dave comes up and goes, here, you got to play this guitar. I'm like, I'm not a fan of SGs. He goes, no, you got to play this guitar. Really, you got to play this guitar. I'm like, so I sit down and I play it. And somebody was looking for a cable to plug in. And I was like, this is amazing. Okay, how much is it? And then the guy, I don't remember, do you remember the guy at the shop?
Yeah, Ray Panetta. My buddy Ray Panetta.
Yeah, so he said he was a fan and he hooked up the price like really cool.
Oh, it's crazy. It was a ridiculous, stupid price. Yeah.
And I had that guitar. I never plugged it in. One P90. Now it was acoustically. It just vibrates. It's acoustically that particular one is on par with the NAGs. It's just the way it works. And there's a telly on every record I've ever produced, pretty much, that has guitar in it. And because you can always find a spot for a telly.
Yep.
When you're layering guitars.
Mm-hmm.
It just works. You don't have to play it first. Play it like, your third, fourth, fifth, sixth overdub. Grab a telly and you'll find a spot. The part will come out. The sound will work. Plug it into an amp, sim, amp, doesn't matter. You'll find a spot. So I always had a telly out, and then I had not. When I got home, I never put that guitar away, like with the rest of my, like you saw me, I just had to walk to Maryland to get the other deny out. And so one day I was tracking and I said, let me see what this thing actually plugs in, sounds like plugged in. I plugged it in and I was like, wow, it's not right for what a part I was going to do. But for a while, I did all the solos with the guitar. It just sings and it has this mid-range bump to it and it jumps out. So I did a record with this band called Southern Fried Funk, where I was actually in the band, but I produced it and engineered it. And I think I did probably 80% of the solos with that guitar.
Oh, wow.
Didn't do the rhythm parts, just the solos. It just stood out. I mean, it just sounded great. It's in Nashville. I lent it to somebody in Nashville. But it's a cool guitar. It's the only SG I've owned. I've never been a huge fan of SGs, and because they always felt like they were in a weird spot, and that one doesn't. And then I played. I remember going to, after owning that guitar, I went to KJ Farrell's, and Mark was on stage. Mike.
Yeah, Mike Markowitz. Yeah,
Markowitz. Yes, and so I didn't have a guitar, and I'm like, come on up and jam. So I got up on stage and he goes, "Hey, you can play my SG." And it was the oddest feeling because I didn't know where the notes were.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
it's out here a little bit. It's out.
But why isn't the SG Junior not?
That's a good question. I don't know. Do I know?
It's not.
I have two SGs. I have that one, and I have a regular 61 SG. And you're right. This guitar is out further.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's
I honestly don't know why. I have to do something. You know, the Guitar Whisperer doesn't know everything. I'm sorry. I can't give you that answer right now. I'll figure it out and I'll tell you why. And I'm sure there are people that know why, and maybe even in the chat. So let's see. Let's see if anyone can answer that question. If you can answer the question why the SG Junior doesn't feel like the neck is out there and a regular one does, let us know.
I guess SG Junior 22 frets or 24?
They're 22. Both.
There are 22 on both?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got so excited the first time I got an SG. I bought a 61 VOS, and I was so excited about the guitar. And coming from a Les Paul to that SG, it just I could not wrap my head around why that guitar felt so different. And in order to compensate for how far my elbow was leaving my body, I was raising the guitar, and until it looked like a bow tie, and it was impossible to actually play the guitar. But it sounded amazing. I mean, it looked cool. It sounded great. I could not stand up and play that guitar.
And the body, if you let go, on our SG, it just kind of weight. It's weird.
And you're exactly right. The neck would just go to the floor.
Yeah, certain SGs, yes. So Ben Coombe says the neck is set further in due to the single pickup, and that could be correct. That sounds to be correct. I don't know if that's really the reason, but it sounds like that should be the answer, and that's what I would say. But since I don't really know the answer, I didn't want to guess. Okay. Yeah, but that would be my guess as well.
I guess because on the SG Junior, on a regular SG, some SGs it feels like that, like the guitar's gonna snap in half, right? Where the body,
right, because there's no neck pocket. It's just neck and then body, like glued right there. There's no pocket holding the neck in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I would love to tell you the story that Les Paul told me about the SG, but it's controversial, so I'm not going to tell you. But it's pretty cool. Some people know about the story, but
so you can tell us off camera.
I'll tell you off camera.
I think I've heard this. I think I've heard this story. Yeah.
Huh?
I think I've heard this story.
Yeah. Les was really cool to talk with. He would just often dish out little pearls of wisdom, and you're like, "What? Really?" But it was Les.
Mm-hmm. So so here's a well, I think we already asked you this question once before. Maybe we didn't. I don't know. I asked this question of all of our guests.
Okay.
So which is your favorite guitar? Which is your best guitar? And are they one and the same?
This is the first guitar I actually got from NEZ,
Oh,
and I don't take it out on the road anymore. It's my Chinna.
I love it.
It's absolutely gorgeous, and I brought it out. Dave's actually worked on this guitar before.
Yes. Yeah, that guitar was here for a while. I think you had left to go to either Germany or Russia, and you left that guitar here.
Yeah, because I probably only took one guitar with Rosewood fretboard.
Yeah.
There's a ding in this guitar, and I can't remember. It's good that I don't know where it is. Yeah, this guitar I've taken across the country a couple of times. Never take it out of the country. And it sings. I do solos with this on records. I do, like on Rhythm of Life, a lot of the solos are on this guitar.
That guitar sounds very 335 like.
Yeah, it's great. It's absolutely great. Plays great, feels great, sounds great.
Semi-hollow? Semi-hollow?
This is full hollow. The
Full
Chinnas
hollow?
are full hollow.
Okay.
Full hollow, like a 330.
Okay.
Full hollow. And at some point, I just kept going, I'm not taking that guitar on the road anymore. I'll take it. I guess I would take it if I had local shows. But I don't know about... I've always been like, they're tools. Guitars are tools for me to do what I do. And you should know, there's the thing. You shouldn't be afraid to... I can't be afraid of damaging one of my tools. If I am afraid, then I'm not going to play it the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
And that goes back to when I toured with Billy Squire. Our friend Ira, was kind of almost yelling at Billy Squire because he had a 58 burst on the road, which had gotten stolen on that tour, and he got back.
Oh wow!
He had two 57 gold tops. He had a 59 Les Paul Jr. and he had a no-caster on the road, and there were backups for everything except the burst. Wow. He had another burst, but it wasn't a 58. And he's got plenty of vintage guitars, but I wish I was into vintage guitars then, because I had all my shiny pointy Ibanez guitars, which are great, but it was a different. I was like, I wish I was into vintage guitars then. And I remember Ira yelling at Billy, going, "You can't take those guitars on the road." He goes, "Sure I can. This is why I have them. I'm not going to have these guitars and then play something else. These are my work tools." And he's got. I think Billy has guitars that he doesn't take out of the house. They're more of an investment, but he still plays them and stuff like that. Mm. But so I'm usually not afraid to take an instrument on the road. When you take something on the road, you have to be prepared that it may not come back. Period. For any kind of reason. But this guitar, I had developed a bond. I was like, yeah, every time I would get ready to leave in the van, I was like, I'm not taking this guitar. And then when I start flying more, I'm like, yeah, I'm not taking this guitar. Mm-hmm. So it's great. This is the first one I got while I was waiting for Joe to make my original my original Severin. And I got this again to play in that band, Southern Fried Funk. And I took it on the road when I was playing with Southern Fried Funk. And then as soon as that tour ended, Joe had finished my Severin, and I got that delivered up to me up in Seattle. And I remember getting a call that it was at the house where it was at my drummer Charlie's house. Went over, picked it up, played it for a little bit, for about 20 minutes, and then went and did an hour-long live radio show, and played it the whole night on the radio show.
Wow.
The Severin. But yeah.
Fell in love with it right away, right?
Yeah, it's so weird with the NEZ. This is probably my... This is probably my favorite guitar, I think.
Wow.
And then it's a toss up between my my two. I have the green Severin as well, but probably the brown one and the black one. And then I have a 1998 Ibanez Blazer that was made at the custom shop. That is just ridiculous, and it was my favorite. It was a guitar that was, I mean, that the whole Blazer series was kind of forced on me at the time. And then I fell in love with that particular guitar, and I have two. I have the Tobacco Burst and the I forgot what the other one's called, Hickory Burst, maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, let's call it Scotch, like your guitar, because it's more like a Scotch color.
Scotch color, and it's got a Wilkinson VSV or VS100 tremolo on it, and Spurzells on it, and it's got DiMaggio. It's Hum Sing Hum. It's got DiMaggio PAF Pros, and maybe I forgot what's in the middle. Is it a Steve Vai?
It's a gem, yeah. The gem single coils. You can't buy them. You could never buy them. Larry was only able to get them in his guitars, and Steve was only able to get him in his guitars. They're so hard. If you could find, now you can get Evolution single coil pickups, but the gem single coil, good luck trying to get those. I have them in almost all of my gems. I have them in the Larry Mitchell guitar there, and I have them in this guitar. This one is a gem single coil. Don't know how the guy got it when I got this guitar, but it is one. Very cool.
It's easier to get those than to get a D-neck from Steve.
Oh, yeah. You ain't kidding. Yeah. What? There's only 2 D-necks in the world, right? Yours and his?
There were 3. I think there are 3. There are 2 on... Does heart shape have a D-neck?
The heart shape has, I think, 1 D-neck. Yeah.
1 D-neck. Oh, so the other one isn't the same.
No, I think it's a 6-string. It's a 6-string righty, 6-string lefty, and then a D-neck righty.
So what's the other heart shape? Because he's got 2.
He had 3 of them. I don't know what the other one had. I don't know. I know that one of them has a D-neck on it. I don't know that they all do. Maybe they all do. A couple of them are at a couple Hard Rock cafes, or maybe one of them's at a Hard Rock. Then he sold one, and he has one in the studio, a purple one.
Yeah, there's one. I was in Vegas last year, and there's a D-neck. There's a triple neck there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a D-neck, one of the 3. That's Steve's. And that's for like In God We Trust. I had to play that, and I was dreading that because I want to go play it live now. And I haven't played that song in forever because the double neck is really heavy for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the new Fractal FM3 came out, and I was beta tester. And when I had not experienced, I didn't try working with the virtual capo and the Asphyx 3, which I have, but I had to test the virtual capo in this, and I said, I wonder if I could do, and I did. So now I can play In God We Trust on a regular guitar, because at some point I was like, I'm gonna have to take the D-neck off and find a body that will hold, that original neck shape, and play, and just for that one song, and travel with with that guitar for one song. I'm not taking a double neck on the road. Sure. It won't survive flights and anything like that. But with the virtual capo, I can play the whole first half of the song dropped a whole step down, and then when I get to the solo, I have to switch to another scene where it's back to normal pitch, and then after the solo, I have to switch back to the drop it down. I didn't want to move the solo. I wanted to do the solo where it was. But the rest of the song I'm able to play because I can drop the tuning. Mm-hmm. So that saved me from having to find a body that would hold a square, because that neck is from 1990, right? Yeah, that neck is from 1989.
89, yeah. Yeah.
So
Joe Hervey asks, does Larry like Wizard next? Maybe the 2 or maybe the 3?
I'm almost positive I have to look at old ad that I was in the ad campaign to introduce the Wizard 2. It took a while to get used to. By the time I got into 98, I stopped using locking tremolos and thin necks. The Blazers are a bit thicker. They're not Les Paul thick. They're not these, as thick as the Nags necks. So I find it really hard to go back to the super thin super thin necks now. Hard, not impossible, but just harder.
Well, you did last year. I brought that guitar to the Vi Academy and you played it.
It took a bit to get used to, but yes, I did play it. Yeah. Thank you, Dave. Yeah.
No problem. I thought you sounded great, but
thanks.
I think you sound great no matter what. Ty, do you want to talk about the Fractal audio piece?
Well, yeah. I mean, you were just referencing the virtual capo.
Yeah.
How long have you been using the Fractal, Larry? I know that you've been using the AX8. Now you've moved to the FM3. Maybe you're using both. How long have you been with Fractal now, and how has the Fractal influenced the evolution of your songwriting and creativity?
I've been with Fractal. I mean, I got my first Ultra, I think it was in 2008. And then I had a 2 before anyone knew the 2 existed. I took a 2 out, and Cliff and I were the only people I believe that knew the 2 was. And so most people didn't know what Fractal was anyway, but every now and then someone would come to the show and go, "What is that?" Because it said Fractal on it, and it didn't look like the Ultra or the Standard. And I would be like, "Oh, it's just a weird faceplate. It's still like an Ultra, but we're experimenting. Cliff is experimenting." And I had 10 presets I had to make, and that was it. And I had to do the whole show with 10 presets. I would say it's changed my whole thing about being able to travel. So
right.
Traveling with the having everything in one. Originally, I got the Ultra because I was playing Native American artists in New Mexico, and all I get were fly gigs. And I was taking 2 pedal boards and a suitcase, and if you checked them, then they pulled your pedals apart. Mm-hmm. If you didn't check them, you had to go through the X-ray machine and explain what a compressor was or whatever. It was just, I had 2 pedal boards of pedals. And part of that is because backline was always like, you'd say, give me 2 small Fender amps or 2 small tube amps, and you'd get to a show. You would fly from Albuquerque to a major city, transfer to another plane, and fly to another major city, to fly to a smaller city, to get in a van and go 2 hours into the middle of nowhere. And you get there, and there's a MOSFET, Marshall MOSFET, MOS valve, and maybe a Cyber Twin if you're lucky. And you go, yeah, neither one, these aren't too bad. And you have to have the right distortion boxes for those, as opposed to a tube amp. So I had 2 pedal boards because I would have at least 4 overdrives, 2 on there, and then 2 can be replaced in case they didn't have the right amp. So I had saw this Scott Peterson, friend of mine, was talking about the Fractal. I got one, and I said, well, if the amp tones and the distortion tones aren't great, I could still do all the effects I need, because I love effects. I love textures and tones and all kinds of just different spatial stuff. And I knew it could do that. And I was pleasantly surprised about the amp sims and the overdrives. And I started using it, and it just kept getting better and better and better. And 2 came out. And then when the AX8 came out, I was like, oh, this is it for me, because I could fly and put this in a laptop briefcase. And that's what I did. I've been using the AX8 for a long time. And I'm a beta tester for Fractal. So I've actually, first round of beta testing was last year, in the middle of last year. And then something happened, and then beta testing resumed again much later in the year. The FM3 is great. It sounds a lot like the XFX3. It's just a smaller package, less CPU. I use that, and I use a Eventide H9. Together, that gives me all the stuff that I really need. I don't know if it's, I mean, it's amazing because the rack that we were talking about earlier, that 300-pound 16-space shock mount rack, if you take all that stuff and you take every pedal board I've had in the late 90s to the mid 2000s, this is still way more versatile than all of that stuff combined. Now, you can argue about sounds and tones and stuff like that. Everything has its different textures, different tones. You know, I love the Boss OC2 Octava versus the OC3. You know, they each have their own textures, and there's a bunch of different tremolos. And still, my favorite is there's a Boss light blue stereo in, stereo out tremolo. And then they did the darker green one, which I never bonded with. You know, so everybody makes something that has its unique sonic imprint. The Fractal definitely represents a lot of effects in a certain way, and it gives me the versatility to do all of that and all change everything at a drop of a hat or a flick of a switch, which is amazing. And I can get it in the briefcase. I like to get on a plane with at least one guitar and my rig. And if they lose my suitcase with clothes and the backup wireless, and I usually fly with some sort of backup, and I don't travel with them together. I can't carry both units, both guitar rigs on the plane with me. So one always has to go in the check luggage, and the other one has to come, with me. And the other one could be, for a while, it was a Tech 21 Fly Rig 5 with the Eventide H9. I had a hot tone box that I used for effects for a while. And Eventide was my backup for effects. And I was like, that's silly to have just the Eventide and not as a backup and not use it. So it became part of the main rig. And it still would fly separately for a while, just in case. But I wouldn't say it's changed my approach to recording, because I still have the same ideas, and I have a bunch of pedals, and I still have cool amps. So everything I can do with the Fractal, I can do without the Fractal. But it's a lot more involved. It's a lot more stuff to carry, way more stuff to carry, stuff you can't fly with because it would be impractical and cost a fortune. One of my favorite amps in the world is the Little Fender Pro Junior. I have 4 of those because the input jack would break. They're tube amps. Tube amps, they give out after a while. They just, So this does not hum, and it sounds better than the Pro Juniors most of the time. Every now and then you get a Pro Junior and you get it to a sweet spot. You go, oh, this is glorious. But I have that 99% of the time with the Fractal. So, I still approach things the same way at recording. It doesn't matter what, because I still record with amps and the pedals and sometimes with the FM3 or the Asphyx 3. It depends on what I need to do and how fast I need to do stuff. And if I just I want to just for fun mic up an amp with a ribbon mic and then I'm going, wow, why did I doing this? It's like this amp is buzzing like crazy, and then I got to go through that process. But so I still approach a song the same way I would approach it without it. I wouldn't do a session for somebody else without the Fractal and use amps, because I know exactly how to get the tones I want and the effects I want with the Fractal in a second. And everything else in the studio with amps and stuff like that is a lot of trial and error and experimentation, which is fun and leads to stuff. But if I was doing a session for somebody else in a studio, I would be using a Fractal for sure. And in my studio, I have a couple of pedals that are that are hooked up to the Asphyx 3 that have knobs. I could probably get the same sound in the Asphyx 3, but this is my experimentation part. So I have a Eventide Rose, which is just a cool delay, but it's not preset delay. It's got, you kind of do presets, but it's got knobs, and you get interesting sounds by just twisting and turning knobs. So I'll do that in the studio if we're working on a project. I'm like, I want something different. I have an idea what I want, but I'm open to ideas. So then I start twisting knobs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I might still be going into an amp sim on one of the fractal units, or I might be going to an amp. But I have a couple of effects that I use just to inspire, just for inspiration. But with the fractal, I know exactly how to get what I want, when I want, and I know it's going to sound great.
Larry, what would you say to a player that's got a lot of experience using tube amps, is maybe somewhat intimidated by technology, nervous about, lengthy learning curves and that type of thing? What would you say to a more traditional player to ease his reservations about taking a plunge into the digital and technology side?
That's a tough one. I have actually turned quite a few players over the last 10 years or more, 8 years, 10 years, whatever it is, to fractal. I brought quite a few artists and players. And in the beginning, I was telling my friends, like, hey, that was traveling and touring, and they're like, it's like, you should check this out. They're like, oh, I'm not taking a modeler on the road with so-and-so. I gotta use this. And then it was like 4 years later, 5 years later, I was getting calls. Hey man, what's that thing you were telling me about? I'm doing this tour and they don't want to take any we can't take anything over a 4-space rack.
Yeah.
And cartage has to be low, the weight limit. And I would tell them. And then I had guitar players that got the fractal, didn't bond with it, and then got rid of it. Then they would come see me play, or lately they've been watching me on Facebook or YouTube, and they're like, "Hey man, how are you getting those sounds?" And I'm telling them I'm using the same gear, and they go, "I couldn't get that sound out." It's not necessarily right for everyone. Some people are coming back to it. I know if you go out to read the forum, people bought a unit, sold it, then came back to it again. Mm-hmm. You have to be open to it to want to learn it, because it is a lot to learn. You probably have to have a reason. Some people have to have a reason to want to invest that time into doing it. Most of the people that do seem to really enjoy it. I know many people that have gone to it and go, yeah, it's hard to go back to not having instant access to stuff. The FM3 is more of a simple box. It still does a lot of cool stuff, but it's got 3 switches. It probably appears to be less intimidating for the person that just wants a good amp sound, maybe in a drive box, and a delay and a reverb. It does way more than that, but it's an easier approach to it, and probably less intimidating from the start. It can go really deep, or you can just go pretty surface level with it. Everybody has different reasons and different needs. So if you really don't need to go to a modeler, and you're mildly curious, borrow one from somebody. It's not right for everybody, and it's not right for everybody at the right time. I've definitely turned people onto it, and they're like, yeah, it's that thing. And then they call me. A good friend of mine would come see me play, and he's in Nashville, and he would say, man, you sound great. It's just really cool. And then we would get together and goes, are you still using that box thing? Why don't you use an amp? I'm like, no, this is perfect for me. And then last year, he called me up and goes, hey, man, I got this weird situation. What's the thing that you use? Can I borrow it? Can I check it out? And he gave me, after he got into modeling, and he sold most of his amps, he gave me a 1964 Tremolux, Fender Tremolux.
Oh, wow.
I have right over here.
Wow.
I had never even heard of that amp before.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the 64 one with EL84s. And Dave knows that I love EL84s.
Mm-hmm.
So I, after like falling and like plugging in and playing this amp for like a week, I was like, oh, wait, there's a Tremolux in the Fractal. So I went, found the Tremolux, changed the tubes to the EL84s, and that's one of the clean amps I use in a Fractal now. It sounds great. So I have the real thing here. In fact, the 2 amps, the main amps that I use in the Fractal are 4 amps. I use a Car, which a Rambler is a Car Rambler. and the Fractal is called a car.
Okay.
A car, but the real amp I've only played once, and I don't own it. It's really great. Small tube amp. And then I use the Keith Urban Tweed, which is great. And then I have my main lead sound and crunch sound is a Marshall Plexi, which I have over here. And now another clean sound is the Tremolux. So again, I have the same amps in real life. I have two of the main amps in real life that I use, and you can say that I can use the Pro Juniors are in place of the Tweed. They're not really a Tweed Deluxe, but so you see the.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
That's clean too.
Oh, it's great. It actually sounds great, and so does the Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the Pro Juniors.
Yeah,
but yeah.
cool.
My friend that hounded me would always say nice things about the Tone Live, but after a while, it'd be like, you should switch back to real amps. And I still have real amps. I use real amps, but I'm not carrying real amps, and they can't do what I can do with the Fractal.
Yeah.
He switched to modelers and gave me his and sold his amps and gave me his 64 Tremolux.
There you go.
It's amazing. William Errol says, "What's your opinion on the Boss Katana that you have?"
It's really cool. They use those. When I did two Vicamps, Vi Academy 4.0 and 5.0, and a Satriani G4 experience, and those are the official amps of the camps, of the Dreamcatcher camps. And so I wanted to really dive into that because I run the jams as well, and people will come up and have issues with trying to get tone. You can get some great tones out of that amp. And actually that head is kind of cool because you can plug it into a cabinet, but also the head has built-in speakers. So you can actually, it just looks like a head, but it actually it's a combo. It's a two small speaker combo.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it works really well. The new one actually has a stereo in. I wish I had the new one because I could actually use that with the FM3 if I wanted to. But it's cool. It's not my first choice for miking. If I'm gonna mic something in my studio, would be the Marshall or the Pro Juniors or the Tremolux. But you can definitely get some good sounds out of it. And when we do the camps, when I've done the camps, I constantly tell everybody, look, before you do the camps, you should go find one of those amps. If you don't own one, go to a Guitar Center or whatever it is, music store that has them, and learn how to dial your sounds. It's got 4 presets. You can save your sounds. But dial up the knobs, get it to sound the way you want, and take a picture of the settings if you want, so you can come back to the Vicamp and then get on stage. Because guys would get on stage and jam with Steve and spend most of their time trying to dial in the sound, So.
Yeah,
that's very cool. So, what are your plans for the summer?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody knows.
Yeah.
Once we get out of quarantine, my everything I had for April is completely canceled. I was looking forward to the Dallas Guitar Show, Guitar Festival in the May 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. I have a stage. I had a spot on the stage, on the big stage, and but that is now moved to July 31st through August 3rd. So hopefully that stays intact, and I'll be able to do that. And the other stuff I was going to do in May has been moved or postponed. I don't know if there's a replacement date. And then June was going to be another month that I was going to be working with artists production-wise. I do a lot of production. Mm-hmm. And in July, I had a whole list of stuff. And I don't know if July happens. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to Italy and Germany again this year. I don't know when that's all going to be open up to travel outside of the country. Even if the quarantine's over, I don't think that's going to happen right away. I think there's still going to be the risk. So I think country borders are going to be closed.
Yeah.
Still. really don't know. I'm gonna release a record. Hopefully, I can play some shows, and if not, I'll keep doing some virtual shows, and I'll record as while I'm home.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna continue to be happy every day I could wake up and play guitar.
Amen to that.
Amen. That's right. That's fantastic. Well, just stay safe. Stay safe. Play the guitar.
I'm trying.
And you're entertaining us all the time. I'm constantly watching your show on Tuesday nights.
Thank you.
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to watch you. Well, unfortunately, I forgot to set up the virtual tip jar for the night, so you're all lucky tonight. Yeah, so that'll be
PayPal.
yeah. Well, all right. So the virtual tip jar, if you wish to donate for the virtual tip jar, it's dnrwb5150 on PayPal, and that's all I have set up at the moment. So if you want to do that, that's fine. If you don't want to, don't feel obligated. So there you go. It's out there. dnrwb5150 on PayPal. If not, again, it's totally fine. We're not looking for money, but if any tips that you'd like to give, we would love it. It would be great. We'd be grateful. On that note, is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Why don't we talk about the hashtag this guitar right here?
Yes.
In the chat earlier, I saw Nerd Halen in the chat. I don't know if he's still here or not, but he has started this really great hashtag, this guitar right here, a way for all of us to kind of share what we already love talking about, these guitars. Go to Instagram, film a 1-minute video talking about a guitar you like, hashtag it, this guitar right here, share a story, talk about the specs, whatever you want to talk about.
Okay.
And encourage others to do the same. I mean, I know that most everyone here in the chat owns a guitar, and so there's several hashtag possibilities right there. So this hashtag this guitar right here, I think it's a terrific idea and a great way to share with the larger guitar community.
Cool. I'll do that. This guitar right here is beautiful.
It sure is.
It certainly is. I love that color. Love that color.
You got to be vain every now and then. You got to get a guitar to match your necklace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
And this is a semi-hollow.
Now,
Yeah,
Larry, do you is that the same pickup? Are those the same pickups that are in your other Severns?
Yes.
Yep.
It's a Damasio Area 67s
Mm-hmm.
and a Damasio Satch Track neck pickup in the bridge.
Mm-hmm. I love that pickup.
And it's a humbucker.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you were saying that you thought you might want to get one of his guitars, right, Ty?
Oh, I mean, I would love it, especially if it made me sound like Larry Mitchell.
I've been trying to do that for 30 years. I've been trying to sound like Larry Mitchell for 30 years. I even tried looking like him once. It didn't work. Yeah.
For a while, they did a limited edition of my black one, the maple fretboard.
Yeah,
that was cool.
It'd be great if they did that again.
Well, I think you can order it. You can order the guitar, right? You can still order a Larry Mitchell model, yes?
Oh, you can order them, yeah, but I mean, they did a specific 5 replicas of that guitar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's very cool.
I don't know if they're going to do any more exact replicas of that, but you can order it. You can definitely order it.
That'd be very cool.
Any more questions? We've been on for a while.
Yeah, we have. Larry Mitchell, Brent Robson says, Larry Mitchell, do you have a turquoise? Do you love turquoise like me? My Nags is bright seafoam green.
I do love turquoise. Oddly, this is not turquoise. This is actually jade from New Zealand, but I do love turquoise. Yeah. And Joe was killing me when he made those guitars with the stones infused in it.
Oh yeah, how beautiful!
Yeah,
killing me,
really
killing
cool.
me.
Yeah. Krellbar says, I remember an old Guitar World article where it stated that Woody Harrelson was a fan and friend of Larry. Are they still in contact with each other?
You know, I could probably say that he's a fan. I don't know. We're definitely not friends, not enemies or anything. The funniest thing about Woody Harrelson, he came and saw me play someplace. I don't remember the first place. Then he walked into, and I didn't meet him, but I knew he was there. He walked into Kenny's Castaways once when I was playing, and he just stood there with his mouth open like, wow, this is great. And we talked afterwards, and it's really cool. And that was it. I lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico, where they're making a lot of movies. I was in a club, the blues club there. I can't remember the name of the club now. And I'm playing. I get off the stage. Someone goes, Woody Harrelson's here. And he's like been staring at you the whole time. So I go up and go, hey, Woody. And he totally didn't remember me, but he had the same look. And he goes, man, you play great. He said like the same stuff. And I'm like, we met before. And he goes, really? I said, yeah. He said the same stuff, like at least 10 years, well, maybe 20 years apart. Probably like 20 years apart.
That's awesome.
He totally didn't remember. I mean, I think, I still had a hat on back then. But it's just funny. It's like twice we talked, and he said the same stuff, but he didn't remember meeting it. But wow. I can say that he honestly liked my playing because he said the same thing twice. It wasn't just like.
Well, what do you guys think? You want to call it?
Larry, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, guys. It's fun.
Yeah.
Real pleasure.
It's always a pleasure hanging out with you, Larry.
Thanks, everybody, for watching.
Oh, yes. Thank you, everyone. I always thank everyone in the chat. Thanks every week for coming to watch us. And
yes, thank you very much
for being a part of this. We all really appreciate it. Just want to say next Thursday night, we have Russell Javers, the original guitar player from Billy Joel's band. He'll be on with us. That should be a lot of fun. And we'll talk more about the giveaways that we have coming up. We'll talk more about guitars. Maybe we'll do this guitar right here on the show. And Ty, thanks again for everything. I appreciate you doing this with me, and I just want to keep on going on this. It's
always a pleasure, Dave. Always a pleasure.
Really a lot of fun.
Okay. And everybody, if you're free on Tuesday nights, tune in on my YouTube or Facebook.
Yeah, and how do people get in touch, Larry?
Just Larry Mitchell on YouTube, and Facebook's the same. You can search me. You don't have to be friends on Facebook to watch the Tuesday Night Live. Just go to my page, Google. I'm the guy with the hat and the guitar.
Awesome.
I'm easy to find.
Thank you for sharing that with all of us, Larry. Every week, you're faithful with that every week. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So, Larry, stick around for a minute, and everyone else, we'll see you next Thursday.
Have a great night. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Good night.